was one of those Friday afternoons where everything seemed to happen at once. The phone wouldn't stop ringing, guests were checking in and out, and Lisa was doing her best to keep up with it all. She'd been working at the Grandview Hotel for 3 years now, and she knew how to handle the chaos. But what she didn't expect was the sound of a little girl crying near the entrance. Lisa looked up from her computer screen and saw a child, maybe 6 or 7 years old, standing by the revolving doors with tears streaming down her face. Next to her was an older woman who looked like she was about to have a panic attack herself. The woman was frantically going through shopping bags, pulling out tissue paper and boxes, clearly searching for something. Without thinking twice, Lisa stepped away from the reception desk. Her coworker gave her a questioning look, but Lisa just mouthed 2 minutes and walked over to the little girl. "Hey, sweetie, what's wrong?" Lisa knelt down to be at eye level with the child. The girl had beautiful brown eyes, now red from crying, and her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. "My shoe," the little girl sobbed, holding up her right foot. She was wearing only one shiny black patent leather shoe. The other foot had just a white sock on it. "I lost my shoe and Mrs. Chen can't find it." The older woman, who Lisa now understood was the nanny, looked embarrassed and worried. "I'm so sorry to bother you. We've been shopping all afternoon, and somewhere between the restaurant and here she lost it. Her father's going to be so upset with me." "Don't worry about it," Lisa said with a warm smile. "Let's find that shoe. What's your name, sweetheart?" "Sophie," the little girl sniffled. "Okay, Sophie. I'm Lisa, and I'm really good at finding things. When did you last remember having both shoes on?" Sophie thought for a moment, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "I think when we were eating lunch." Lisa stood up and turned to Mrs. Chen. "Did you have lunch at our restaurant here?" "Yes, at the Garden Terrace restaurant about 2 hours ago." "Perfect. Let's start there." Lisa looked back at her desk where her coworker was now handling 3 guests at once. She felt a little guilty, but something about this little girl's tears made her want to help. Besides, what was the point of working at a fancy hotel if you couldn't make a child smile? They walked together toward the restaurant, with Sophie holding Lisa's hand. The little girl had stopped crying but still looked miserable. Lisa could tell this wasn't just about a shoe. There was something deeper in those sad eyes. "So, Sophie, what did you have for lunch?" Lisa asked, trying to distract her. "Grilled cheese and French fries," Sophie said quietly. "And chocolate milk. That sounds delicious. That's my favorite lunch, too." They reached the restaurant, and Lisa spoke with the hostess, explaining the situation. Together, they checked under the table where Sophie and Mrs. Chen had eaten. No shoe. They looked around all the nearby tables. Nothing. Lisa checked with the waitstaff. Nobody had seen it. "Let's think about where else you went," Lisa said, not giving up. She could see Sophie's eyes starting to water again. Mrs. Chen spoke up. "We went to the gift shop after lunch. Sophie wanted to look at the stuffed animals." "Great, let's check there next." They made their way to the hotel gift shop on the other side of the lobby. The woman behind the counter recognized Sophie immediately. "Oh, you're back. Did you decide you wanted that teddy bear after all?" "We're looking for her shoe," Lisa explained. "Did you happen to see it?" The woman shook her head. "I'm sorry, I didn't notice. But you're welcome to look around." Lisa, Sophie, and Mrs. Chen searched every corner of that gift shop. They looked under display racks, behind the counter, and even in the toy section where Sophie had been playing earlier. Still no shoe. Lisa was starting to worry they might not find it, but she kept her face cheerful. "Okay, where else did you go today?" "Think hard, Sophie." Sophie scrunched up her face, thinking. "We went outside to the garden. I wanted to see the flowers." "The garden, of course." "Let's check there." The hotel had a beautiful indoor garden area with tropical plants, a small fountain, and comfortable seating. It was one of Lisa's favorite spots in the building. As they walked through the glass doors into the garden, Lisa noticed Sophie seemed to relax a little. The sound of the fountain was soothing. "Show me where you walked," Lisa said. Sophie led them along the stone path, past the fountain, and over to a corner where there were some large planters with palm trees. "I was looking at the butterflies here," she said, pointing to a flowering plant. Lisa started searching around the area. She looked under benches, behind planters, and along the edges of the garden. Mrs. Chen was checking the other side, and Sophie was retracing her steps carefully. Then Lisa noticed something. One of the large planters near the wall had a small gap between the planter and the wall itself. She got down on her knees and peered behind it. There, wedged in the narrow space, was a shiny black patent leather shoe. "Found it," Lisa called out. Sophie's face lit up like a Christmas tree. She ran over as fast as she could with one shoe on and one shoe off. Lisa pulled the shoe out from behind the planter and held it up like a trophy. "My shoe." Sophie grabbed it and immediately sat down on a nearby bench to put it on. Her hands were shaking with excitement as she struggled with the buckle. "Here, let me help," Lisa said gently, kneeling down again. She fastened the little buckle and made sure the shoe was on properly. "There you go. Good as new." Sophie looked at her shoes, both now on her feet, and then looked up at Lisa with the biggest smile. Without warning, she threw her arms around Lisa's neck and hugged her tight. "Thank you so much," Sophie whispered. "You're really nice." Lisa felt her heart melt. She hugged the little girl back, surprised by how emotional she felt. "You're welcome, sweetheart. I'm just glad we found it." Mrs. Chen looked like she might cry from relief. "Thank you so much, Miss Lisa. You have no idea how much this means. Sophie's father bought her these shoes just last week, and they're her favorites. If we'd lost one..." She shook her head. "It's really no problem," Lisa said, standing up. "I'm just happy to help." "Sophie's father will want to know about this," Mrs. Chen said, pulling out her phone. "He always wants to know when someone is kind to Sophie." "May I have your name?" "Oh, that's not necessary," Lisa said quickly. "I was just doing my job. Please," Mrs. Chen insisted. "It would mean a lot." "Okay, it's Lisa Rodriguez. I work at the front desk." Mrs. Chen typed something into her phone while Sophie held Lisa's hand and swung it back and forth happily. The little girl seemed like a completely different child from the one who'd been crying 20 minutes ago. "We should let you get back to work," Mrs. Chen said. "We've taken up enough of your time." "It was my pleasure," Lisa said, and she meant it. She ruffled Sophie's hair gently. "You take care of those shoes now, okay?" "I will," Sophie promised solemnly. As Lisa walked back to the reception desk, she felt good about taking that time to help. Sure, there were probably annoyed guests who'd had to wait, and her coworker definitely looked stressed. But seeing that little girl smile made it worth it. She sat back down at her desk and dove back into work, answering phones and checking in guests. The afternoon rush continued, and soon she'd almost forgotten about the lost shoe incident. It was just another day at the Grandview Hotel. Or so she thought. Saturday morning, Lisa woke up feeling good about the weekend ahead. She had 2 days off, and she planned to spend them relaxing and catching up on laundry. Maybe she'd finally watch that show everyone had been talking about. But when Monday morning came around, something felt different the moment she walked into the hotel. Her manager, Mr. Peterson, was standing in the lobby looking nervous. He kept adjusting his tie and checking his watch. That was never a good sign. "Lisa," he called out the second he saw her. "I need to talk to you." Her stomach dropped. Had she done something wrong? Was she in trouble for leaving the desk on Friday? "There's someone here to see you," Mr. Peterson said in a hushed voice. "He's been waiting for 20 minutes. He insisted on speaking with you personally." "Who is it?" Lisa asked, confused. Nobody ever came to see her at work except her sister, and that was only for emergencies. Mr. Peterson looked uncomfortable. Well, you'll see. He's in the private lounge." Lisa followed her manager through the lobby, her mind racing. The private lounge was where the hotel's most important guests waited. She'd only been in there a handful of times, usually to deliver something to a VIP. When Mr. Peterson opened the door, Lisa saw a man standing by the window, looking out at the city. He was tall, probably in his late 30s, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. When he turned around, Lisa's breath caught in her throat. She knew this face. Everyone knew this face. It was Michael Thornton, the tech billionaire. His company had created some of the most popular apps in the world. His face was on magazine covers, business news shows, and billboard advertisements all over the city. "Miss Rodriguez," he said, walking toward her with his hand extended. "Thank you for meeting with me." Lisa shook his hand, too shocked to speak. What was Michael Thornton doing at her hotel? And why did he want to talk to her? "I'll leave you two alone," Mr. Peterson said quickly, practically running out of the room. "Please sit down," Michael said, gesturing to one of the leather chairs. Lisa sat, her heart pounding. "I'm sorry, but I think there's been some mistake. I don't understand why you're here." Michael smiled, and it was a warm smile that reached his eyes. "You helped my daughter on Friday. Sophie, you found her shoe." Oh, Lisa's face broke into a smile. Sophie is your daughter? She's such a sweet little girl. I'm so glad we found her shoe. She hasn't stopped talking about you, Michael said, sitting down across from her. The nice lady who found her shoe. The lady who was so kind and patient with her. She made me come here today. Lisa felt herself blushing. I was just doing my job. Any of my co-workers would have done the same thing. I don't think so, Michael said quietly. And that's actually why I'm here. I have a proposition for you, and I hope you'll hear me out before you say no. Lisa nodded slowly, completely confused about where this was going. Sophie's mother passed away a year ago, Michael began, and Lisa's heart immediately ached for him. Cancer. It was fast, and Sophie was devastated. We both were. Still are, really. I'm so sorry, Lisa said softly. Thank you. It's been the hardest year of my life. But the worst part has been watching Sophie struggle. She used to be this bright, happy, talkative kid. Now she barely smiles. She goes through the motions of life, but there's no joy in it anymore. Lisa thought back to those sad eyes she'd seen on Friday. She'd sensed there was something deeper going on. I've tried everything, Michael continued. Therapists, support groups, time. And while she's getting better slowly, she's still this shell of who she used to be. Mrs. Chen, her nanny, is wonderful, but she's formal and old-fashioned. Sophie needs someone warmer, someone younger, someone who can help her remember how to be a kid again. Lisa was starting to understand where this might be going, and it made her nervous. When I came home on Friday and Sophie told me about you, it was the most animated I'd seen her in months. She described everything you did, how you held her hand, how you didn't give up looking for her shoe, how you made her feel safe. She fell asleep that night hugging the stuffed animal we bought at your gift shop and talking about the nice lady. Michael leaned forward, his eyes intense. Miss Rodriguez, I want to hire you. There it was. Lisa's mind was spinning. To do what exactly? To be Sophie's companion coordinator. I know that's not a real job title, but I don't know what else to call it. Basically, I need someone to be there for Sophie. To organize activities for her, take her places, be present for important moments. Someone who can give her the warm, caring attention she needs while I'm working. Someone who isn't just doing it as a job, but who actually cares about her as a person. Lisa didn't know what to say. Mr. Thornton, I'm flattered, but I'm not qualified for something like that. I don't have any experience with children, and I'm just a hotel receptionist. You're not just anything, Michael said firmly. You saw a crying child and you helped her. Not because you knew who she was. Not because you thought you'd get something out of it. But because you're a good person with a kind heart. That's the only qualification that matters to me. But I have a job here, Lisa protested, though her mind was already doing the math. What would something like this pay? As if reading her thoughts, Michael said, I'd pay you 10 times what you're making now. Full benefits, including health insurance, dental, vision, 4 weeks of paid vacation. And if you need to take time off for family emergencies, that's completely fine. Lisa's jaw nearly dropped. 10 times her salary. That was more money than she'd ever imagined making. She could help her sister with her medical bills. She could finally save for the future. She could stop worrying about rent every month. But something made her hesitate. This felt too good to be true. I need to think about it, Lisa said carefully. This is a big decision. Can I have some time? Michael nodded. Of course. Take the weekend. Here's my card. Call me when you've decided. He stood up and Lisa stood too. And Miss Rodriguez? I understand this is sudden and probably overwhelming. But I wouldn't be here if I wasn't certain you're the right person for this. Sophie saw something in you that she hasn't seen in anyone else since her mother died. Trust matters to me. Kindness matters to me. And you have both. After he left, Lisa sat back down in the chair, her legs feeling weak. What had just happened? Did Michael Thornton really just offer her a job? She went through the rest of her shift in a daze. Every time she tried to focus on work, her mind drifted back to the conversation. 10 times her salary, 4 weeks vacation, working with sweet little Sophie. But that evening, as she sat in her small apartment eating leftover takeout, reality started to set in. Her sister Rachel needed her current health insurance. Rachel had cerebral palsy and required regular physical therapy, medications, and doctor visits. The insurance through the hotel wasn't great, but it covered most of Rachel's needs. If Lisa quit her job and this new position didn't work out, they'd be in serious trouble. You look stressed, Rachel said, rolling her wheelchair into the living room. She was 2 years younger than Lisa, And despite her challenges, she had the sharpest mind of anyone Lisa knew. Lisa told her everything. About Sophie, about the shoe, about Michael Thornton's offer. "Holy cow," Rachel said when Lisa finished. 10 times your salary? Lisa, that's incredible. I know, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I'm terrible at it? What if he fires me after a month? We need my insurance for your medical care. Rachel was quiet for a moment. Have you considered that this might be exactly what we need? With that salary, we could afford better insurance, better doctors, maybe even those treatments my doctor mentioned that our current insurance won't cover. But it's risky, Lisa argued. What I have now is stable. It's safe. Safe isn't always better, Rachel said gently. Sometimes you have to take a chance. This little girl needs you. And honestly, maybe you need her too. You've been stuck in that hotel job for 3 years and I know you're not happy there. This could be your chance to do something that actually matters. Lisa spent the entire weekend going back and forth. She made lists of pros and cons. She barely slept. By Monday morning, she'd decided to turn down the offer. It was too risky. She couldn't gamble with Rachel's health. She went to work with Michael's business card in her pocket, planning to call him during her lunch break to politely decline. But when she got to the hotel, there was a message waiting for her. Michael Thornton was back, waiting to speak with her. Her hands were shaking as she walked to the private lounge again. This time he wasn't alone. Sophie was with him. Lisa. Sophie jumped up from her chair and ran to her, hugging her waist. "Daddy said you might come work with me." Lisa looked at Michael over Sophie's head. He looked tired, like maybe he hadn't slept much either. "Sophie wanted to come say hi," he explained. "I hope that's okay." "Of course," Lisa said, kneeling down to Sophie's level. "Hi, sweetie. I love your dress today." "Thank you," Sophie said shyly, then louder. "Are you going to be my friend?" The question hit Lisa right in the heart. This wasn't just about a job. This was about a little girl who'd lost her mother and was desperately looking for someone to care about her. "Mr. Thornton," Lisa said, standing up. "Can we talk?" They stepped to the side while Sophie played with a puzzle on the coffee table. "I was going to turn you down," Lisa admitted. "I have a sister who needs my health insurance and this fee." Lisa's first day in her new job felt like stepping into a different world. Michael's house wasn't just a house. It was a mansion in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city, the kind of place Lisa had only seen in magazines. Mrs. Chen greeted her at the door with a polite smile. "Welcome, Miss Rodriguez. Sophie is in her room. She's been waiting for you since breakfast." As Lisa walked through the enormous entryway with its marble floors and chandelier, she felt completely out of place. Her simple jeans and sweater suddenly felt too casual. Everything around her screamed money and sophistication, and she was just a girl from a regular neighborhood who'd worked at a hotel. "Don't be nervous," Mrs. Chen said, noticing Lisa's discomfort. "Mr. Thornton doesn't care about formality. He just wants Sophie to be happy." They climbed a grand staircase to the second floor. Mrs. Chen knocked on a door painted with white and pink flowers. "Sophie, Lisa is here." The door flew open, and Sophie stood there in a yellow dress, her face breaking into a huge smile. "You came." "Of course I came," Lisa said, her nervousness melting away at the sight of Sophie's excitement. "I promised, didn't I?" Sophie grabbed her hand and pulled her into the bedroom. Lisa tried not to gasp. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. There was a bed that looked like something out of a princess movie, shelves full of toys and books, a reading nook by the window, and even a small table and chairs for tea parties. "This is my room," Sophie said proudly. "Do you like it?" "It's beautiful," Lisa said honestly. "I love the window seat. Mommy used to read to me there," Sophie said, her smile fading a little. Then she brightened again. "Do you like to read?" "I love to read." "Good. Mrs. Chen doesn't like most of my books. She says they're too silly." Mrs. Chen cleared her throat from the doorway. "I'll be downstairs if you need anything. Lunch is at noon." After she left, Sophie climbed onto her bed and patted the spot next to her. "Sit with me. I want to show you my favorite books." For the next hour, Sophie showed Lisa her collection of stories. Some were picture books, others were early chapter books. Sophie talked more in that hour than Lisa had heard in both their previous meetings combined. She told stories about each book, about which ones her mother had loved, about the characters she wished were real. Lisa just listened. She didn't try to change the subject when Sophie mentioned her mother. She didn't act uncomfortable. She just let Sophie talk. "You know what's weird?" Sophie said suddenly, hugging a stuffed rabbit. "Most people get all quiet and sad when I talk about Mommy, like they don't want me to remember her." "That must feel lonely," Lisa said softly. "It does. I don't want to forget her. I'm scared I'll forget what her voice sounded like." Lisa's heart broke. "I don't think you'll forget. And even if some memories fade, the important ones stay. The way she made you feel, the things she taught you, how much she loved you. Those things don't go away." Sophie looked at her with those big, brown eyes. "Did you lose someone too?" Lisa nodded. "My dad. I was 13 when he died. It was really hard." "Does it still hurt?" "Sometimes. But it hurts less than it used to. And now I can think about him and smile more than I cry. That took time, though." Sophie was quiet for a moment. "I want to get to that part. The smiling part." "You will," Lisa promised. "There's no rush." The days turned into weeks, and Lisa slowly figured out her role. It wasn't like any job she'd ever had before. There was no clear schedule, no list of tasks to complete. Instead, she just spent time with Sophie. Some days they did fun things. They baked cookies that turned out lopsided and delicious. They painted pictures and made crafts. They went to the park and fed the ducks. They visited museums and planetariums and aquariums. But other days were harder. There were days when Sophie didn't want to do anything. Days when she just wanted to lie in bed and be sad. On those days, Lisa didn't try to cheer her up or force her to be happy. She just sat with her. Sometimes they'd watch movies together. Sometimes Lisa would read aloud. Sometimes they'd just sit in comfortable silence. Mrs. Chen seemed puzzled by Lisa's approach. "Shouldn't you be encouraging her to do activities?" she asked one day when Sophie had spent most of the afternoon in her room. "Mr. Thornton is paying you to help her, not to let her mope." "I am helping her," Lisa said gently. "Sometimes the most helpful thing is just being present. She needs to know it's okay to have sad days." Mrs. Chen looked skeptical but didn't argue. Lisa also started to understand the pressure Michael was under. He was a single father trying to run a billion-dollar company while grieving his wife and raising a heartbroken daughter. He traveled constantly for work. Some weeks Lisa barely saw him. When he was home, he looked exhausted. But he always made time for Sophie, even if it was just reading her a bedtime story or eating breakfast with her before rushing to the office. One evening, about 6 weeks into the job, Michael came home early to find Lisa and Sophie in the living room. They'd spread out newspapers all over the expensive carpet and were creating something messy with papier-mâché, flour paste, and balloons. "We're making planets," Sophie announced, her hands covered in paste, her face splattered with bits of newspaper. "Lisa's helping me make the solar system for my room." "I see that," Michael said, looking at the mess with an expression Lisa couldn't quite read. "That's very creative." Lisa stood up quickly, wiping her hands on a towel. "I'm sorry about the mess. We put down newspaper, but I can clean all of this up right now." "Don't apologize," Michael said, and Lisa realized he wasn't upset. His eyes were shiny with unshed tears. "This is the first time I've heard Sophie laugh in her own home since her mother died. You could paint the walls purple and I wouldn't care." Sophie didn't seem to notice her father's emotion. She was busy painting her mercury balloon silver. "Look, Daddy, this one is going to be closest to the sun." "It's perfect, Princess," Michael said, his voice thick. Later that evening, after Sophie went to bed and the living room was cleaned up, Michael asked Lisa to stay for a moment. "I wanted to thank you," he said, sitting down on the couch with a tired sigh. "I've seen such a change in Sophie these past few weeks." "She's an amazing kid," Lisa said, sitting in the chair across from him. "She just needed someone to let her be herself. Sad days and happy days and everything in between." The therapist said something similar, but I didn't really understand it until now. "I kept trying to make her happy to fix her grief, but you're just letting her feel it." Grief isn't something you fix, Lisa said quietly. It's something you learn to carry, and she's doing a really good job of learning. Michael was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. You mentioned you lost your father. How did you get through it? Lisa thought about it. Honestly, my sister helped me the most. She was younger, and she was dealing with her own grief, but somehow we got through it together. We learned that it was okay to have days where we missed him so much it hurt. And we learned it was also okay to have days where we had fun and didn't think about it. Both kinds of days were normal. Rachel, right? Your sister? Lisa was surprised he remembered. Yes, she has cerebral palsy, so growing up we were really close. I had to help take care of her, and she helped take care of me in different ways. We were a team. You should bring her here sometime, Michael said. I'd like Sophie to meet her. And I think it might be good for Sophie to see that you have family you care about, that you understand what it's like to love someone and want to protect them. Really? You wouldn't mind? Of course not. This is your work, but it's also your life now. Your family is welcome here. The next week, Lisa brought Rachel to the mansion. She was nervous about it, worried that her sister might feel uncomfortable in such a fancy place, or that Sophie might not know how to act around someone with a disability. She shouldn't have worried. Sophie took to Rachel immediately. She asked direct, honest questions about the wheelchair, which Rachel answered with patience and humor. Within 20 minutes, Rachel was teaching Sophie how to do wheelies in the wheelchair, and both of them were laughing hysterically. Your sister is cool, Sophie told Lisa later. She doesn't act sad about the wheelchair, she just makes jokes about it. Rachel is one of the strongest people I know, Lisa said. She doesn't let anything stop her from doing what she wants. Like you, Sophie said thoughtfully. You're strong too. What makes you say that? Because you're not scared to talk about sad things. Everyone else acts like if they mention Mommy, I'll break. But you know I won't break. Lisa hugged her. You're right. You're not going to break. You're bending like trees do in a storm. But you'll straighten back up again. You just need time. As the weeks went on, Lisa noticed more changes. Sophie started sleeping better. She started eating more at meals. She began to show interest in activities she used to love before her mother died, like ballet and piano. One afternoon, Sophie asked if they could go through some of her mother's things. Lisa knew this was a big step and asked if Sophie wanted Mrs. Chen or her father there too. No, Sophie said quietly. Just you. You understand. They sat in Sophie's mother's old office, a beautiful room that had been left mostly untouched since her death. Sophie went through photo albums, touching pictures of her mother with gentle fingers. She was so pretty, Sophie said, showing Lisa a photo of a woman with Sophie's same brown eyes and bright smile. 3 months into working with Sophie, Lisa started to feel like she'd finally found her rhythm. She woke up each morning actually excited about her day. That was something she'd never experienced in her years working at the hotel. But she was also learning that helping someone heal wasn't a straight line. There were good days and bad days, and sometimes the bad days came out of nowhere. It was a Tuesday morning when everything changed. Lisa arrived at the mansion to find Mrs. Chen looking worried in the kitchen. Sophie won't come out of her room, Mrs. Chen said quietly. She's been in there since last night. Mr. Thornton had to leave for a business trip to London early this morning, and I think that's what triggered it. Lisa's heart sank. She climbed the stairs and knocked softly on Sophie's door. Sophie, it's me, Lisa, can I come in? There was no answer. Lisa tried the door handle and found it locked. I don't want to talk. Sophie's small voice came from inside. Go away. Lisa sat down on the floor outside the door, her back against the wall. Okay, I'm not going to make you talk, but I'm going to sit right here and I'll be here whenever you're ready. For a long time there was silence. Lisa pulled out her phone and checked her messages, answered some emails, and just waited. She could hear Mrs. Chen moving around downstairs, probably thinking Lisa should be doing more. After about an hour, Sophie's voice came through the door again. Are you still there? Still here. Why? Because you matter to me. Whether you want to talk or not, whether you're having a good day or a bad day, I'm here. Another long silence. Then Lisa heard the lock click. The door opened a crack and Sophie peeked out. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. "Can you come in now?" she asked in a small voice. Lisa stood up and followed Sophie into the room. Sophie climbed onto her bed and pulled her knees up to her chest. She looked so small, so vulnerable. "Do you want to tell me what's wrong?" Lisa asked gently, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Daddy left," Sophie said, fresh tears rolling down her cheeks. "He said he'd only be gone for 3 days, but that's what they said about Mommy. They said she'd only be in the hospital for a little while. And she never came back." Lisa felt her throat tighten. Of course, why hadn't she thought about this before? Every time Michael left, Sophie probably worried he wouldn't come back either. "Oh, sweetie." Lisa moved closer and opened her arms. Sophie immediately crawled into them, sobbing against Lisa's shoulder. "That must be so scary. What if something happens to him?" Sophie cried. "What if the plane crashes? What if he gets sick like Mommy? What if I lose him too?" Lisa held her tight and let her cry. She didn't say empty phrases like "everything will be fine" or "don't worry," because Sophie had learned the hard way that bad things could happen. Those words wouldn't help. Instead, Lisa said, "Those are really scary thoughts, and I understand why you have them. You lost your mommy, and that taught you that people you love can go away forever." Sophie nodded against her shoulder, still crying. "But here's something I want you to know. Your daddy is doing everything he can to stay safe. He's on good airplanes with great pilots. He has security people with him. He takes care of his health. And most importantly, he has the biggest reason in the world to come home. You. But what if something happens anyway?" Sophie's voice was muffled but desperate. "Then you would be okay," Lisa said softly. "Not right away because it would hurt so much. But eventually you would be okay. Because you're strong, Sophie. Stronger than you know. And you wouldn't be alone. You'd have Mrs. Chen and your grandparents and me. We would all take care of you." Sophie pulled back to look at Lisa with wet eyes. "You promise you wouldn't leave?" "I promise. No matter what happens, I'm not going anywhere." Sophie hugged her again, holding on so tight it almost hurt. They sat like that for a long time until Sophie's tears finally slowed down. "Can we do something?" Sophie asked eventually. "Something to keep my mind from thinking scary thoughts?" "Absolutely. What do you want to do?" Sophie thought for a moment.
"Can we make something for Daddy?"
"So when he comes home, he knows we were thinking about him?" "That's a wonderful idea." They spent the rest of the morning working on a welcome home banner. Sophie drew pictures of the 3 of them together. A big house, a sun, and flowers. Lisa helped her write "Welcome Home, Daddy" in big colorful letters. They used glitter and stickers and made it as bright and cheerful as possible. As they worked, Sophie talked more about her fears. About nightmares she had. About how sometimes she'd wake up and forget her mother was gone. And then remembering felt like losing her all over again. Lisa listened to all of it. She shared some of her own experiences with grief, about how she used to have panic attacks after her father died, convinced something would happen to Rachel too. "How did you make it stop?" Sophie asked. "Time helped," Lisa said honestly, "and talking about it like we're doing now. And also learning that I couldn't control everything. Some things are going to happen whether I worry about them or not, so I might as well spend my energy on enjoying the people I love while they're here, instead of being scared of losing them." "That's hard," Sophie said. "The hardest thing in the world," Lisa agreed, "but you're already doing it. You're letting yourself love me and Rachel, even though you know loving people can hurt if you lose them. That's incredibly brave." Sophie seemed to consider this. "I never thought about it that way." Over the next few days while Michael was gone, Lisa made sure to keep Sophie busy but not distracted. They did activities, but they also talked openly about her fears. They FaceTimed with Michael twice a day so Sophie could see he was okay. When Michael came home on Friday evening, Sophie ran to him and hugged him so hard he almost fell over. "I missed you so much," she said, holding on to him. "I missed you too, Princess," Michael said, looking over her head at Lisa with a questioning expression. Lisa mouthed, "Later," and smiled. After Sophie went to bed, Michael asked Lisa what had happened. She told him everything about the locked door, the fears, the tears, the conversations. Michael sat down heavily on the couch, running his hands through his hair. "I didn't realize every business trip would be so hard for her. The therapist mentioned separation anxiety, but I thought we were past that. Grief isn't linear," Lisa said. "She'll have setbacks. The important thing is she's learning to talk about her fears instead of keeping them inside. Should I stop traveling? Michael asked. I could do more video conferences, turn down some speaking engagements. I don't think hiding from the fear helps, Lisa said carefully. But maybe shorter trips for a while. And we could work on building her confidence between trips. Show her that you always come back over and over until that truth sinks in deeper than the fear. Michael nodded slowly. You're good at this. Better than I am at understanding what she needs. You're doing great, Lisa assured him. You're here. You're trying. You're willing to change your schedule for her. That's what matters. As the weeks continued, Lisa noticed Sophie becoming more confident. She started making friends with other kids at the park. She asked to join a ballet class again. She laughed more easily and more often. Rachel became a regular visitor to the mansion, and Sophie loved having her around. One Saturday, Michael invited both of them to stay for dinner. It was the first time Lisa had sat down for a meal with the family, and it felt different from work. It felt personal. They ate pasta that Mrs. Chen had made, and Sophie told silly jokes she'd learned at school. Rachel shared funny stories about her job at the library. Michael talked about a new product his company was developing. Lisa just listened mostly, enjoying the warmth and laughter around the table. This is nice, Sophie said suddenly. It feels like a real family dinner. There was a brief, awkward silence. Then Michael said gently, It is a real family dinner. Family doesn't have to be just blood relatives. It can be the people who care about each other and show up for each other. Sophie looked at Lisa. So Lisa and Rachel are like our family now. Michael glanced at Lisa, and she could see the question in his eyes. She smiled and nodded. If they want to be, Michael said. I want to be, Sophie said immediately, looking at Lisa hopefully. Me too, Lisa said, her voice a little shaky with emotion. I'd be honored to be part of your family. Rachel raised her glass of juice. To family. The one you're born into and the one you choose. They all clinked glasses, and Lisa felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just a job anymore. These people had become her family. Sophie had become like a daughter to her. Michael had become someone she trusted and respected, and they'd welcomed Rachel with open arms. One evening, a few weeks later, Lisa was reading to Sophie before bed when Sophie interrupted her mid-sentence. Lisa? Yes? I'm happy again, Sophie said softly. I didn't think I would ever be happy again after Mommy died. But I am, is that okay? Lisa set the book down and cupped Sophie's face in her hands. It's more than okay. It's wonderful. Your mommy would want you to be happy. I still miss her every day, Sophie said. That's okay too. You can miss her and still be happy. Both feelings can exist at the same time, like how you can love more than one person at the same time. Exactly like that. Sophie snuggled deeper into her pillows. I love you, Lisa. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, Sophie. So much. As she left Sophie's room that night, Lisa found Michael waiting in the hallway. 4 months had passed since Lisa started working with Sophie. It was a Saturday evening, and Lisa was getting ready to leave for the day when Michael stopped her in the hallway. Do you have a minute? He asked. I'd like to talk to you about something. In my office? Lisa's stomach tightened. Those words had never led to anything good in her experience. Was he going to let her go? Had she done something wrong? Of course, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Michael's office was a large room with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk, and a sitting area by the window. He gestured for Lisa to sit on the couch, and he took the chair across from her. He looked nervous, which made Lisa even more anxious. I need to tell you something, Michael began, and I need you to hear me out before you react. Lisa's heart was pounding. Okay, Michael took a deep breath. The day Sophie lost her shoe at your hotel. That wasn't an accident. Lisa blinked, confused. What do you mean? I mean, I made her lose it. On purpose. Lisa stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. I don't understand. Michael stood up and walked to the window, his back to her. Mrs. Chen and I were at the hotel that day. We'd had lunch and we were walking through the lobby. I saw you at the reception desk helping an elderly woman who was confused about her bill. You were so patient with her. You explained everything twice, you smiled. You treated her with such kindness even though she was holding up the line. He turned to face Lisa. I watched you for a few minutes. I saw how you interacted with other guests, how you were genuinely kind to everyone, not just the important-looking ones, and I thought, This is the kind of person I've been looking for. Someone with real compassion. Someone who cares about people simply because they're people. Lisa felt like she was in a dream. So you made Sophie lose her shoe to test me? Yes, Michael said quietly. I told Mrs. Chen to take Sophie to the garden, and I slipped her shoe off and hid it behind the planter. Then I had them come back through the lobby. I wanted to see what you would do when you saw a crying child. Would you call security? Would you ignore it because you were busy? Would you help but be annoyed about it? That's kind of manipulative, Lisa said, feeling a spark of anger. It is, Michael admitted without hesitation. And I'm not proud of it. But Lisa, you have to understand, Sophie is the most important thing in my world. After her mother died, I watched nanny after nanny, tutor after tutor, come through our lives. They were all qualified. They all had great references. But every single one of them saw Sophie as a job, as a paycheck, or worse, as a connection to me and my money. He sat back down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. I needed to find someone who would care about Sophie for who she is. Not because of who her father is. Not because of what they could gain. I needed someone with a genuinely good heart. So I tested you. And you passed in ways I didn't even know to test for. Lisa didn't know what to say. Part of her was angry at the manipulation, but another part understood the desperation of a father trying to protect his child. You didn't just find the shoe, Michael continued. You held her hand. You talked to her gently. You didn't give up when the first two places didn't have it. You treated her like she mattered, like her tears and her lost shoe were important, even though you had a lobby full of people waiting. That's when I knew. Why are you telling me this now? Lisa asked. Because I need to ask you something else. Something bigger. Michael's voice was shaking slightly. And I need you to know the whole truth before I ask it. Lisa waited, her heart still racing. These past 4 months have been incredible, Michael said. I've watched my daughter transform. She laughs again. She plays again. She started to heal in ways I didn't think were possible. And it's because of you, Lisa. Not because you're doing a job, but because you genuinely love her. I do love her, Lisa said softly. So much, I know. And she loves you. She talks about you constantly. Lisa said this and Lisa thinks that, and can Lisa come with us? You've become one of the most important people in her life. Michael stood up again and walked over to his desk. He picked up a folder and came back, sitting next to Lisa on the couch this time. I need to talk to you about the future, he said. My lawyer helped me draft some documents and I want you to look at them. But first I need to explain what I'm asking. Lisa's hands were trembling as Michael opened the folder. I'm 42 years old, he said. I'm in good health and I plan to be around for a long time. But I also know that life is unpredictable. I lost my wife when she was only 38. Healthy one day, gone 6 months later. It taught me that I can't take tomorrow for granted. He pulled out a document. If something happens to me, I need to know Sophie will be taken care of. Not just financially, that's easy to arrange, but emotionally. I need to know she'll have someone who truly loves her, someone who will put her needs first, someone who will remember her mother and talk about her without fear, someone who will let her be sad when she needs to be sad and help her find joy when she's ready for joy. Lisa's eyes widened as she began to understand where this was going. Lisa, I want to name you as Sophie's guardian, her godmother legally. If anything happens to me, you would become responsible for raising her. Obviously, there's money set aside for her care. You'd have access to everything you need. But more than that, you'd have my daughter. And I'm asking if you're willing to take on that responsibility. Tears sprang to Lisa's eyes. Michael, that's enormous. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, Michael said. I'm not asking for an answer right now. This is a huge decision. It would mean you're committing to Sophie not just for now, but potentially for the rest of her childhood. Maybe longer. Lisa looked down at the documents in her lap, legal papers that would bind her to Sophie forever. The weight of it was almost overwhelming. Can I ask you something? Lisa said. Anything. Why me? You have family. You must have friends. People who've known you for years. Why would you choose someone you've only known for 4 months? Michael smiled sadly. My parents are in their 70s and not in great health. My brother lives in Australia and barely knows Sophie. My wife's family blames me for not catching her cancer earlier, which is ridiculous, but grief makes people irrational. As for friends? He shook his head. I have plenty of business associates and people who want things from me. But friends? Real friends? Those are rare when you're wealthy. People's motivations get complicated. He looked directly at Lisa. You're the only person I've met in years who wanted nothing from me. You didn't even want the job at first. You turned it down because you were worried about your sister. You put someone else's needs above your own potential gain. That's who you are. That's why I trust you. Lisa wiped her eyes. Can I take these home? Read them, talk to Rachel? Of course. Take all the time you need. Michael paused. But Lisa, whether you say yes or no to this, I want you to know something. This isn't a condition of your employment. You have a contract and that stands regardless. You won't lose your job or Sophie's presence in your life if you say no. I'm asking this because I believe you're the right person. Not because I'm trying to pressure you. That night, Lisa sat at her small kitchen table with Rachel. The legal documents spread out before them. This is insane, Rachel said, but she was smiling. He wants to make you Sophie's legal guardian? Not now, just if something happens to him. Still, Lisa, that's a huge deal. He's basically saying he trusts you with the most important thing in his life. Lisa put her head in her hands. I know, and it terrifies me. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess her up? Rachel reached across the table and squeezed Lisa's hand. You're already good enough. You've been good enough since the day you found her shoe. You've been parenting that little girl for 4 months and she's thriving. This is just making it official. But what about you? Lisa asked. If I say yes and something actually happens to Michael, my whole life would change. I'd be raising a child full-time. I might have less time for you. Rachel laughed. Lisa, I'm an adult. I have my own life. Yes, you help me sometimes, but you've always been so worried about me that you haven't lived your own life. Maybe it's time you did. This is a huge responsibility. So is love, Rachel said simply. And you already love Sophie. You already treat her like she's yours. This is just paperwork making it legal. Lisa spent the weekend thinking. She imagined different scenarios. What if Michael died in a plane crash? What if he got sick? Could she really step in and be Sophie's mother? Could she make the hard decisions, set boundaries, help her through teenage years? But then she thought about Sophie's face when she laughed. The way Sophie held her hand. The I love you, Lisa whispered before bed. The trust in those brown eyes. She already was Sophie's person. The paperwork would just confirm what her heart already knew. On Monday morning, Lisa arrived at the mansion with the signed documents. Michael was in the kitchen having coffee when she walked in. I'll do it, Lisa said simply, handing him the folder. I'll be Sophie's godmother. Her guardian, whatever she needs. Michael's eyes filled with tears. He stood up and pulled Lisa into a hug. Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. I think I do, Lisa said, hugging him back. It means you trust me with your whole world. I do, Michael said. Completely.